it's Claire from scrappynerduk, and today I am back with the days number 21 and 22, I think, of my December daily album. And I'm pleased to report that my album is complete, and this is just the last couple of videos just to finish off this album. So working on day number 21, and it's a nice simple layout. So I've done some work ahead of time by loading my photo into Canva, which is one of my absolute favourite free apps. I've mentioned it a few times across this series, and I actually added my title and journaling on using the Canva app as overlays, and then that is going to take out most of the hard work from this spread. So I was just a bit concerned that my album is super chunky. I'm not going to get much more in, to be honest. So at this stage, the best thing for me to do was to actually add my journaling on to my photo, and I actually really like how it looked. So this is a photograph. We actually went food shopping this day for our Christmas food, and I'm just talking about how doing this sort of thing at Christmas always gets me excited, going and getting all of those exciting, foodie bits, and especially because we went to our local farm shop to go and get some nice treats from there as well, and I couldn't get excited. I was just not interested. So I'm sort of telling that story on this page here, and I finally have a home for that pleather piece, that single pleather piece that I had left. I finally found a home for it. It's going onto this photograph. So these little puffy numbers are actually from Ali Edwards, and I'm super frustrated because there's the same amount of numbers 1 and 2 as there are of any other number. And if you're using them for numbers in your December daily album, you certainly want a lot more 1s and 2s. So what I actually did is use the number 4 and just cut off the extra bit and use that as my number 1 instead. And then I think the last thing I do on here is just add this little chipboard piece that says holiday errands. And I'm going to call that one good. As I said, the journaling is already on the photo, and just a small amount of embellishment just to jazz it up a little bit. And then I'm just going to re-punch the holes. So this has been stuck down onto the back of my advent calendar pages. And when I film the flip through of the whole album, you'll be able to see the advent calendar pages as well. I think I showed them in the early videos, but I haven't really shown an update on those. And they've just got the photographs in now. That's all I've done. So now I'm going to work on day 22. And day 22 was a day that I'm documenting. We went to, if you're in the UK, you'll know of Silverstone, and it has a racetrack. And we went there. There was they were doing something called Lapland, which I thought was very punny. And we went there for, you basically could pay to drive around the circuit, and also they had like a load of Christmas lights. So they also encouraged people to decorate their cars as well. So we put some lights on top of our car, and went and drove around this track. So you might notice there that photograph is already sticky because I have already put some tape on it. But I had to sort of backtrack a little bit because I had to figure out what I was going to do with all of these photos. So I was going to make them into like a tag album and put that into the pocket. But I actually decided to make almost like a pamphlet style fold out with all these photos. So I've got all of my journaling on one, and then I have 7 other photos, I believe. So I've cut down this bit of white cardstock, and I'm actually just going to score that at 3.5, 7. And I do score at 10.5, but I'm going to trim that end bit off anyway because I don't need that bit. So I didn't really need to score it at all. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stick these photographs down into these sections. And I do trim the photos to just a tad under 3.5, I think. Yeah. So just a tad under 3.5, and then you'll see me trim them out anyway. So this is going to give me like a pamphlet style insert to go straight into my pocket. And because there are quite a few photos that I wanted to include for this day, I had to keep the embellishing very minimal on this because, like I said, my album is super chunky already, so there was no way that I could get away with a whole load of different embellishments in this insert. So I'm okay with that. I'm okay with the fact that it is just the photos and a bit of journaling and a small amount of embellishment. And I even treated myself to a new trimmer blade there. I could see that the edge of my photos were getting a little bit frayed, so I just popped a new blade in and retrimmed that at the edge. And I needed to trim this down anyway because I needed to be able to fit that in that middle one. So a little tip. What I've actually done here is I had 6 spaces and 8 photos. So I needed to make space for 2 extras. And then all I've done here is I've actually scored them in half at 1 3/4 inches. And then I've actually just adhered that flap where they join together, adhered those back to back to each other. And then that's given me some extra space to be able to add another photo stroke journaling in without needing another section, another 3.5 inch section on the end of this. So that's a little tip. Now, scoring photos is not a good idea, having said that. So if I was to do this again, I would potentially print the ones that I'm going to score in half, especially the journaling. I would print them on cardstock instead, a lightweight cardstock, and score them and add them in that way. But I'd already printed these, and so they were going in as they are, and they will flatten out over time with the amount of weight that's going to be on top of them when they're in the album. So they will eventually flatten out a little bit, and they don't stick out too much. And I just love how this makes it a little bit more interactive as well. So you've got I put the little tabs on there to help distinguish the fact that there's another photo or a bit of journaling that's the other side of the photo. So I've just grabbed some stamps out. I think these are Ali Edwards stamps as well. And I'm just going to stamp out just 4 random sentiments, stuff that would make sense for the photos. So create joy. Just a generic sentiment for me to just add something onto the tabs. I was going to use stickers on the tabs, but I decided just to go with a couple of stamped out words in the end. And I choose 4 random ones, and I actually lined up the 2 tabs on the bits that fold over. I've lined them up so they sit on top of each other, but you could have it where you could stagger it and have a little bit of a different design. And I had checked to make sure it goes back into the pocket as well before I'd stuck those down. So don't panic, I will go and clean my stamps off camera. I have got a stamp chamois now, so I have no excuse. But all of my Christmas stamps are going to need a good clean, which will be on the to-do list. So that goes into that little tab, and then this one is going to go into this tab. Now I actually leave the photos alone in terms of decoration. And as I said, I just add in a couple of extra bits. So a tiny word sticker, which is going to be too long and I don't want it bent across that gap. So I'm just going to cut it in half, and then this little chipboard piece that says love this. And again, it's only one piece, so it's not going to bulk it out too much. And then that is just going to fold up like so, if I can figure out how to do it. And that's just going to live inside of that Santa pocket. If I can get that back in. And I've cut out a little notch at the top of the Santa pocket to be able to pull that in and out very easily. And then the last thing for me to do is to add my number, and there's a natural space right there for me to be able to do that. So I grab a little felt 22, and also grab the little holly wreath as well, or the holly as well, to be able to just give it a little bit of decoration. I think that came in one of my scrappy advents as well, actually. So it's nice to get some bits used up in the album. And then that's going to go on there. And then I'm going to attempt to get this back back on the bind without pushing everything else out. So thanks very much for joining me today. If you have enjoyed this video and my whole December daily series, then I'd appreciate if you gave the video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're new here, and I'll see you all next time. Bye guys.